do it.
The record button is now on. As MC James, I suggest you start with the apologies.
Welcome to the St. Louis Linux meetings group, Linux users group meeting for October the 21st of 2021. Unfortunately, we had a miscommunication and we do not have a presentation for everyone tonight. That is the most pressing announcement, and I don't really actually see any other announcements up on the board. Fortunately, the presenter has graciously offered to present it next month, so everyone can come back for that. And I think at this point, I will open up the floor to questions, comments, concerns. But as always, send your hate mail to @GaryMyers.
This is Stan. I'd like to announce that next week, Tuesday, the new Linux users group will meet as usual on the fourth Tuesday of the month. And that's October. And then also in November. In the meantime, we will decide what we're going to do for December, whether or not we're going to do it on the third Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday. Well, I'll let the group speak their opinions or whatever, but what it amounts to is either we do it the Tuesday before Christmas or the Tuesday after. Either way, we're going to have a kind of an empty week, one way or the other. So it's something to consider. Questions? Crickets, crickets, crickets.
Oops, someone has their hands up, and nope, it's Stanford.
Go ahead, Stanford.
I finally got around to installing my upgraded router from my ISP, and router seems to be IP6 capable, which the last one was not. So what I'm confused about, and it would probably be easier if I would share my screen, is I saw on one of these, we'll call it a server in on my house that I'm logged into from my laptop. I ask it, who's logged into this server? And it says, well, there's a couple different people are. And one of the guys is logged in from this really long IP6 address. And it's like, oh yeah, which one is he? And you try and ask the router who that IP6 address is, and the router says, I don't know.
You can't do like a trace route 6 to see where it pops off?
Desktop.
Is it by chance the IP6 address on your internal port?
Share, hold on here. So where can I start by showing?
We now see your screen.
This is the offending client. Can you see it?
Yes, we see your terminal.
So the WLP3S says that this laptop, which happens to be the laptop that I'm zooming on, has got all these IP6 addresses.
Mm-hmm.
The one that we're going to turn out to be is this one right here. This is the client that says, who logged in here? And it said, this guy logged in here. Who he be? So if you don't have access to this laptop to figure out who he be, you might want to run this, which says, well, here's your router. And there's this desktop, which is where we happen to be asking who logged in here. And there's the laptop, which says, well, as far as I know, my IP6 address is this one, but I got a bunch of other IP6 addresses that I ain't going to tell you about. And then let's just not worry about this one down here because he's not part of the problem. So the point is that the router knows this guy by this IP6 address. The desktop says, yeah, but I know him as this IP6 address. And yeah, sure enough, he's all of those IP6 addresses, but it's a little difficult from the server or from the server and the router to be able to say, who be this client?
Well, don't they all tie back to the hardware, what they call it, not MI,
But you see my problem over here on this one. I say, who's logged in here? And it says, well, you got 3 guys logged in locally.
hmm.
You got 1 guy logged in remotely from this IP address, which happens to be my desktop at work. And you got 1 guy logged in from here that's kind of extremely difficult to reverse engineer.
Well,
Because-
doesn't that tie back to your eight character hardware device? Like not 8 character.
Well, help me
8
out.
hex.
Like I said, when I said, okay, if this is who he's advertising himself as, let's go ask the router who he is.
Well,
And the
go-
router
go-
says, I don't know. He's advertising himself as a different
Yeah.
IP6 address to
Go
me.
go back to the
Yeah.
router, Stanford.
Okay, the router.
And pop open what
No.
device details?
And so, right, even if you go into device details, and before I refresh hold on just a minute. An hour ago, hold on. An hour ago, before I refresh this page, well, see, now he's got
Well-
2 lines here.
Well, okay, that look at the MAC address. Tie everything back to the MAC address. That's how you're going to trace it.
How are you
If your
gonna-
laptop and your desktop have different MAC addresses,
So I
that
ran
Mac-
into the same kind of issue. What it is you have multiple router advertisements going on in your network. So there's probably another device out in your network that's trying to advertise its route. If you statically assign your IPv6, you don't have that issue. It's for the simple fact that IPv6 is kind of set up so that devices can have multiple addresses. So they can be part of multiple networks at the same time. But it follows the same routing. If you see that FE8, think of that kind of like almost like a loopback address. That's private. It's not routable or anything like that. It's really just for the local connection. It's what's called local link. But yeah, I mean, generally what I do on all my servers, we're 100% IPv6, is we statically assign it so that you don't have things like switches and routers advertising addresses and basically being a bunch of DHCP servers on your network.
I
Yeah,
didn't even want to get involved in IP6. Let's go back to the router a minute and answer the question that somebody asked that I didn't answer. If you go into device details, there's less information in the details than there is in whatever. So the details only know about 66FB and A3D9, which are quite visible on the non-details page, 66FB and A3D9. As I said, before I refreshed this page an hour ago, one of these numbers was the 55, whatever it is, number.
Yeah.
So these keep floating and
I'm
changing.
guessing. So I know a lot of consumer routers. They're doing IPv6 in software. So a lot of the software just sucks. I'm sure if you went into like an ARP table, you would see it there.
Yeah, but I didn't even want to get involved in IP6. That's why I assigned this static IP4 address, this static IP4 address, and this static IP4 address. So kind of the broader question is, why does this guy, when this guy got logged in, when TTY3 got logged in,
Mhm.
why did it name itself this?
yeah,
Yeah,
with
A lot of services will try to negotiate over IPv6 now, and if it can get to it over IPv6, that's what it's going to use. So if you don't want that, just turn off IPv6 at the kernel level and call it done.
Mhm. It also looks like your device will generate new IPv6 addresses semi-randomly for privacy reasons.
Mhm.
So that's why you'll have multiple of them and they might cycle through.
It's just, I mean, it's not important to me because it's just my house and it's just whatever. And I didn't think there was any, but when I logged in today and I said, who else is logged here? And it says these 3 people. And I go, who that weird boy? I said, I bet I left myself logged in at home. And sure enough, it was, but it's like, try and trace, if I didn't have access to this client to ask, is that you? I wouldn't know who this is that's logged in, and I'd blow him away.
Well, then you blow yourself away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's going to make this IP6 stuff is going to make it difficult to backtrace where is this connection coming from.
Well, you got the same problem with IPv4.
I
Especially
guess
with
well, in this case, I can do a dig on this address.
Yeah, because it's a public address. If it's an internal address, you can't.
I don't have an example. I mean, I guess I could try to
No,
create a second.
what I'm saying is the main difference between V4 and V6 is that in V6, a lot of DNS isn't mature yet. So a lot, and if that's an internal IP, you can't do a lookup on it anyway, whether it's V4 or V6.
So kind of what you're telling me is it's like, since this number is an internal number, don't worry about it. It's on your local LAN. It's not coming from the outside world.
Let me rephrase that. My biggest pet peeve with V6 is there is no such thing as NAT.
Mhm.
You can tell a router to use off-net addresses internally, but that's a pain in the butt to configure, and 99% of the people don't do it. So you end up with a lot of internal IPs, which are public. And
Yeah, I mean,
that concept that drives me fruit.
IPv6 is built around the idea that everything should just have a public IP. You shouldn't have to do NAT or anything like that. The big thing, a lot of carriers, like I know from my colo, a lot of them don't even have IPv6 reverse DNS set up. So a lot of them just, the concept of resolving, during reverse DNS lookups on IPv6 addresses just isn't a thing. Because it is a nightmare to manage. It's a nightmare to get it to work right.
I don't think I'd want all of my internal addresses public.
Yeah, no kidding. That's one
Did
of
I
the
miss
reasons I won't
something?
go to V6.
Isn't that what firewalls were made for?
See,
Say
here's
again,
here's a different way of asking the question. I asked who, and it said, well, these people are logged in. I said, well, that's not useful. Tell me, use netstat to tell me who's got these SSH ports open. And it's like, well, one of your guys is SSH'd into this local box from this well-known routable public IP address at work. Okay, cool. Another guy is SSH'd into here from here we go again with this stupid address that I can't tell where the heck it's coming from.
Can't you do like a trace route on that?
Tell me what type, trace RT?
Yeah, the whole, well, whatever your command is, and then yeah, just the IP. Did it locally on one of my IPv6, pops up just
Try it.
a local
Yeah,
host.
here it said trace route's not currently installed.
You
So
got
install it,
trace
that should
cert.
take 10 seconds.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
not heavy.
Trace
Oh, I
route
don't
with
think so. This is a really old box. I doubt that it's going to be able to go out and find a depot.
Trace path, I think that's the Debian one.
with
Oh,
a 6
Debian
on the
uses
end.
trace route.
Oh yeah,
With a 6 on the end.
yeah, because it's IPv6.
Put a 6 at the end of the command.
Right here, you mean?
Yes.
It's still gonna say that I don't have that installed.
Okay. Well.
But yeah, it's like I said, I didn't have this problem before I upgraded my router to support IP6.
Yeah, a lot of ISPs are starting to jump on the bandwagon because now that you can do an ASIC, it actually is faster for them to do IPv6 because you're not doing the NAT translation. You're not having to manage all those ports and everything. I mean, it really is just routing at that point. So, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
See, that's weird. That's just totally wrong. This is a this is a Think Center server, media server, and this is a Think Center media server. This one's got a really old OS. This one's got a more modern OS. But so the laptop that I'm sitting at is logged into both. So in this case, the laptop that I'm sitting at is this connection. And in this case, the laptop that I'm sitting at is this connection. And guess what? That's the connection to the router, not the laptop.
You put your router on 254?
It did.
Oh, the route.
AT&T did.
That's a little odd,
Yeah,
but okay.
AT&T routers are 192.168.1.254 normally.
But this is like totally masking. It's like, hey, who's on this port? And it's like, well,
Here's the router.
On that port. I don't know who's on the other end of the router.
My AT&T router isn't like that.
It will be.
Steve, is your router a few years old?
Couple months. No, it's
his
What
is
came out of the
self-service.
warehouse? It's what came out of the warehouse.
Yeah, his has IPv6 on the upstream side. Have you been able to look at that, Steve?
let's go find out what's my IP address. It should tell me what that one is, shouldn't it?
Okay, so let me
internally it
stop.
might be V4, but most likely externally is V6.
Let me stop sharing so that someone else can show me what their router setup looks like. Oh, I'm just curious. I raised my hand and I did not take it down. Is the host able to take down a raised hand?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Sounds like somebody's polishing their fingernails.
That's what I thought.
Okay, it says, what is my address? It says, it gives me an IPv4, which is, something, something, something. And it gives me an IPv6, which says not detected.
Can you share your screen so that we can see what you're talking about?
Sure. Let me make sure I got all the naked women off of here. Do you see the web page now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
IPv4, IPv6. Not. Try IP Chicken.
Huh?
Go to the
Is that a
website
website?
ipchicken.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is, to try and reproduce my problem, we need somebody who's got 2 local hosts inside their LAN, because that's where the IP6 chatter is taking place.
Okay, Steve, try ipmonkey.com.
Okay.
It's easier to type than chicken.
No,
Yeah, so I've got it working between two of my boxes. And yeah, I mean, if I SSH from one of my boxes that's got IPv6 to another box, and these are even in the same subnet, I mean, it just resolves back the, looks like, what is it? The
Well,
direct
show me.
link.
I mean, yeah, when you get to your destination box and you say, who's logged in here? It says, well, you
Aye.
are under this other alias name.
All right, let me share my screen 1 second. Okay. All right, so if I'm on my jump box, I've got a static IPv6 address, and then I've got my direct connect IPv6 address. And then if I
Could you
go,
possibly make that font a smidgen bigger?
sure. Let's see here. What is it under? Is it profile?
probably.
Or no, hold on. Let me lock. Let's try that. It's not that big. Let's go. It's crazy. Let's go 20. It's not that big. All right. But yeah, so I've got my two IPv6 addresses. And then if I go to, and I don't have IPv6 DNS set up, if I go to another box, and this just so happens to be on the same subnet as this other one, and I do a who, I mean, I get one of the IPv6 addresses of my jump box back, which just so happens to be the direct link, which is the first in the table.
Okay, and my question here is, if you don't have access to the box that you're coming from,
Mhm.
and you either do a dig or a reverse lookup, or you go ask your router who owns this IP6 address.
Mhm. Well, I mean, if you look up, so this is using Hurricane
Did it come
Electric.
in when you did the who? Did it list the static one or the dynamic one?
The dynamic one with this one.
Yeah, which is ugly. It's like this is floating. This is random. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Can you use ARP on V6?
I don't. Let me see. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Let's do capital A. No. Okay. Yeah. See. I don't know. Maybe it's an OS thing. Yeah, because I've turned off router advertisement and all my stuff. But Ubuntu, of course, keeps giving out. And it's weird that it uses this one. Let me think. Do I have another box that's got? Let me go to another box 1 second.
And the other thing I can ask you is, like, where you typed who, also type netstat minus TNP.
All right, let's try that. TMP?
No, N November.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so it gives me.
whoa, you have a lot of people connected to this.
This is a jump box that has a bunch of stuff going through it.
Yeah, I mean, so then it found the SSH and it said, yeah, and the SSH is coming in from this
Crazy address in there. Yeah.
you know, and it's like, I mean, obviously when you can type who or who am I, and it says you're this guy, and it's like, yeah, I know that's me, but which one of my boxes, if you didn't.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's just part of the new
How do you,
privacy.
in other words, without going, when you're on the destination box and you say, who's logged into this box, and it says this guy is, without going around to all of your client boxes and say, which one of them is logged in right now, how do you reverse engineer that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to rely on like dynamic DNS to just be updating that. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's like a kernel parameter change to just, because I mean, it is like if I go to my net plan, I mean, I only have just that configured, but it's the direct link address is the one that it's picking. And I wonder why it's picking that one first. So yeah, weird. I have to look into that.
All right, so we're not, other people are seeing the same thing I have. I'm not crazy. We've got some bugs in whatever, like you said, DNS for IP6 is not mature. I'm done with my question. Someone else can ask a question. In the meantime, turn off IP6 on my router. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you do need to be careful with that though. Like a lot of like app and all that jazz, if it sees it has an IPv6 address, it will use that one, even if it can't reach it, and it will just simply fail. It won't fail down to IPv4. So you have to be a little bit careful with that.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, thank you, Ubuntu.
Oh, there's your problem.
I just noticed
No, I kid.
one of my older boxes, Nick has got an IPv6 address. I don't think it's being used for anything.
I mean, a lot of stuff is just turning it on by default.
All right, well, I've got a question.
No,
Yeah, no talking. A bit of a sea change. Currently, I'm trying to get a end-to-end test working in a GitLab runner. And part of the issue is that the runner's running a Docker container, which then has to build and run several other Docker containers and work the networking between them. Is it possible to have a network inside a Docker container that you
Yep.
can then
Yep.
access?
So you do need to pass in the privilege flag. But what you're looking for is Docker and Docker.
Mhm.
You can run a full Docker engine and everything inside of a container where you can, Docker, create network, create containers, and you can have nested containers and all that.
Yeah.
That's actually like I'm with Rancher, by the way.
Ah.
We run a full Kubernetes cluster inside of a single container.
It's containers all the way down.
Well, it's for testing.
Yeah.
Spinning up VMs in AWS isn't the fastest thing in the world.
Yeah. I-
James, this is Stan. I suggest that you re-announce the whoopsie.
Oh, yeah, whoopsie. Unfortunately, we had a miscommunication, and the talk on the Internet Archive will be happening next month.
oh,
That's why we're going long on the questions here.
Yes. Unfortunately, none of us realized that tomorrow was actually the end of the midterm for the semester, and grades were due.
oh,
And actually, this is Gary, and to clarify that, the local talk on Internet Archive is my fault. I didn't apparently clarify the date well enough, but this is the anniversary, 25th anniversary.
We can postpone that, right? Tell them to have a different 25th anniversary.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah.
Matt has posted a link in the chat room. That's an example of the Docker in Docker that he was talking about. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
the issue I keep running into is trying to like reach out to a container in there just from like the runner, the top container that's holding everything else. That seems to fail.
Are you,
But
are you trying to make like network connections between it or like
Ye-
passing files?
Network connections.
Yeah, I mean, that should work. I mean, this is doing like a multi-arch build for ARM. I mean, like in the services section, I mean, you just simply define the Docker network just like you normally would.
Okay.
This is Jerome.
By the way, are you using Docker Compose?
Yes.
Okay, way I did it, I needed to control another container. So I used a third container, which was Alpine. And then I just installed the Docker client in Alpine. And then the trick was, and this is the weird part about it. Let's say in your services file, your Docker Compose YML file, you say this one is DB and this one is app or something like that. What they did was they said, okay, we're gonna like append an _1 to that name. So within the Alpine container, I had to say, okay, like for example, I wanted to say like Docker run this other thing, right? From within the Alpine container. So I had to give it the name of the other container, but instead of it being Redmine, it was like Redmine _1. And actually, I'm not entirely positive that was the whole thing. There might have been like some other parts in there that it had. Oh, yeah, I think it had like a prefix or something. And I had to put the prefix in there.
Yeah.
So,
Weird things happen when you do Docker and Docker. At least I might be doing something wrong, but even locally trying to define a network has been crazy. This has all been legacy code of various levels of quality, and they've got a Docker Compose file, a Docker Compose pipeline file, and then a Docker Compose override file. Because why not keep things simple?
Yeah. I mean, is it just like two different containers? I mean, or is it like a bunch of really complex microservices?
It's not. It's like 4 or 5 containers, so not that complex.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I was hired at this job because I know Bash and the test is all in Python.
Yeah.
That makes perfectly good sense.
Well, I don't have to know how the test works. I just have to get it running.
didn't you write FizzBuzz in Python, or was that somebody else that wrote that?
That was someone else. I did
Oh.
Golang and
Oh, you did
POSIX
Golang, okay.
shell. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Although I probably could still do it in Python. Just might not look any good.
Yeah, actually, I appreciated the Go one because I'm always confused when I see Go code. So I figured with something with FizzBuzz, right, I might be able to interpret it better.
Yeah, it's a fairly simple syntax. It's the real trick to it is it has classes and objects, but you don't have to have like method calls inside the braces for each class. Instead, you just you can extend a class object with a function basically outside of it. So all the code looks completely like functional or procedural, but no, it could be object oriented.
Any other questions? Crickets, crickets, crickets.
I'd kind of like.
I have a very simple question about networks.
Go ahead.
Having two, okay, hold on a second here. I'm gonna see if I can just permanently unmute myself. It's holding this down. It's terrible. Hold on.
Hey there, Lee. Why'd you raise your hand?
Okay, now I've got it unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. So if you have two network cards in your computer, or you have an Ethernet card, let's say, and a Wi-Fi adapter in your system, right? Now, my question is this: what happens if you ran an Ethernet cable from your Ethernet card in your computer to your router, which was your Wi-Fi access point, and you also had Wi-Fi, so the Wi-Fi came on and it did a DHC. Well, they both did DHCPs, and you get two different IP addresses back. My question is, if I send some stuff out the router, how does it decide which one to go?
So it's using your routing table.
Uh-huh.
So even though you got two default gateways, in reality, the Linux kernel only allows just one.
Right.
And how it decides if it has multiple interfaces on the same broadcast domain, it uses the metrics. So you can say, okay, I've got a 1 gig and a 10 gig connection. My 10 gig has a higher, it is like a lower number than my 1 gig. So preference that, but if you can't get out that way, then you can use it. So basically it will always use whichever one has the higher metric. Now in reality, most likely it's the metric of 1 is the default for most OSs. So it's just going to pick whatever interface came up first, and then that's what it sticks with. And then your source address is going to be that interface. So the router is going to respond back because it doesn't know that the other IP addresses just happens to be the same machine. As far as it's concerned.
So in a scenario that I just mentioned, this is completely hypothetical, right? But let's say it picked the Wi-Fi as the primary one, right? And even though it probably shouldn't have, but let's say it did. And then, I don't know, somebody with a big, huge metal sheet walked in front of your computer, blocking out or attenuating the Wi-Fi radio. Would it then say, hey, I'm getting really bad reception here, and then kind of switch over to the Ethernet?
The link would have to actually go down. Well,
the link would physically have to go down.
Yeah, because I mean the routing, it doesn't know.
Right.
Is it really my local link, or is it somewhere else? It's one of the reasons, like a lot of my servers, I have a 1 gig and a 10 gig. It's best, and a lot of OSs don't even allow you to configure it in like the GUIs anymore, of having multiple NICs on the same VLAN. Like Ubuntu will straight up throw an error and say you're not allowed to do that. You can totally do it, but the kernel doesn't like to do it.
Well, even if they're not on the same LAN, in my experience, if you have more than one default route, you get nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It was just a point of curiosity because I had this computer with both, and I thought, I wonder, I don't have another place to hook it up. So, I was just wondering, would it like double up the speed, or, I don't know, like.
Nah, I know at least in Ubuntu with GNOME, you can tell it if you could see hardline, go ahead and disable the Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thanks for the info.
Yep.
Yeah, James, my question was, I'd like to see somebody, talk about their FizzBuzz.
Before we do that, this is Stan. I'd like to mention that I'd ask kind of the same question about a Ethernet connection and a Wi-Fi connection on my laptop on the discuss list. And I kind of think that having both going at the same time on the laptop might be have been causing some of the problems I had with sound and so forth when I tried to join the different sessions. So that's just something I'm guessing might have been an issue. So go ahead with Lee's question.
Well,
What's FizzBuzz?
FizzBuzz, that was Ed's challenge last month.
yeah, to complete the FizzBuzz challenge, preferably in a Docker container,
Why is it called FizzBuzz?
because that's what you print out. Let's see if I can't go through the archives and find my submission. If not, I could probably figure something out.
Oh, I remember now. FizzBuzz, yes. It was something to do with dates, and when you figured out the proper number of submissions, you printed out FizzBuzz, kind of like, I got it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
not even a date, just 0 to 100. You print it out. Let's see, Gmail does not think it's a safe file, so I cannot download it. Did I keep it? I did. I have it up on my own cloud. Yeah, Gmail's yelling at me. Oh, it's a virus. Can't have it. Okay, let's see if I can't do some things. So I have here a script called FizzBuzz, and if I just run it, it prints out all the numbers from 1 to 100, and every number that is divisible by 3, it prints fizz instead. Every number divisible by 5, it prints buzz, and every number divisible by both, it prints FizzBuzz. And I did this in POSIX shell because my boss at work really prefers it to bash. And we figured might as well write that.
I thought Bash was a POSIX shell.
It is a POSIX shell, but it is not POSIX shell. It has several features not in the standard.
Called superset, right?
Yeah, that works. So one of
Okay.
them is like, you can define functions with the function keyword. You can have arrays. You can have name references, which is basically, hey, I'm going to pass a variable name to a function and have that function assign things to it instead of it being global. You can have local variables, have to be defined with local.
Now, are you saying it's SH?
Yes, this has been SH.
No, I mean what you were talking about with the variable passing. Is that SH or bash?
That was bash.
Okay.
You cannot do that in POSIX.
But I found out on most machines, SH is just a symbolic link to bash.
Yeah, some places do it instead of dash. It might even be to your login shell. But if you want it to run on like Alpine, you'd have to either install bash separately or just do it all in POSIX. Speaking of Alpine, here's my Docker file. I grabbed Alpine, just copied my script over to the root home, and its command is fizzbuzz.sh because, well, I don't want to have to do much else. Let's see if it still builds. Hey, built with a total of 4 layers. So that's good. But what did I get tagged as? Nothing.
How big is it?
That looks like it is 5.59 megabytes. Yep, 5.59.
I wonder if you switched over to BusyBox, if you can get that number down any lower.
Maybe. Maybe. Is that a different image or is it like
Yeah, it's a different, it's a highly, highly stripped down image, like. It has almost nothing in it, like bash isn't there. I think SH is there. I am noticing a lot of images. They're stripping bash, they're stripping SH out. I mean, there's no shells whatsoever.
no shells at all? Yeah.
Try to drop a shell on a box that doesn't even have a shell.
How does a box work with no shell?
You don't need it if you just have one process.
Yeah.
I just checked the 3 machines I was talking about before. They're all Ubuntu flavored. SH is a link to Dash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that
just
makes
noticing
sense.
that. I don't know what is Dash.
Yeah, so Dash is a faster shell, but it's specifically built to be only POSIX compliance or only with maybe like 1 extra bell or whistle. Yeah, so but speaking of Alpine, I just tried to run bash. It could not do it. I instead told it to run sh. Hey, here we are. Let's see, what's a bashism that we can try and test? This is one. It's going to do nothing.
Are you root?
Yes.
He's in the container though.
Oh,
Must be a big container.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I trying to define a function doesn't seem to be working. Oh yeah, cannot define a function with the function keyword. Can't even define a function without it. Oh well. Let's take a look at that BusyBox image. And what images does it have? Yeah, let's just do latest. We'll live dangerously. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's less than a megabyte.
Yeah, it is. And it took a slightly longer because it had to pull the BusyBox image. That is 1.24 megabytes in size.
It's a little smaller.
Just about 5 times or so.
Yeah, something like that.
Then if we take a look at the Go one, it's a little more complicated. Thankfully, Golang provides their own image, but it's fatter than Alpine. Even never thought I'd say that about Alpine. Nope, I want this one. Yeah, it's got a whole 6 layers here. And at my day job, I've got, I'm working with images up to 30 layers for reasons that I hate the previous team who worked on it. Basically, yeah, let's include debug tools inside the Docker container compiling these things.
A little bit chubby, is it?
Yeah, there was one about 2 gigabytes. I was able to split down to about 1 gigabyte just by compressing some layers, some run commands, but it's still annoying.
Yeah.
So as we can see, the Go FizzBuzz image is a whole 900 megabytes. That's a little chubby. I'm sure we can do things to slim that down, multi-stage builds, but
Yeah.
James, that's almost the size of SQL Server.
yeah. But you get a whole operating system with the Go toolchain in this one.
Yeah.
Oh, Microsoft might dispute that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that the Rancher we've been working on is doing multi-stage builds. So you could basically bring it all the way down to scratch. So it's just a kernel and your binary, and that's it.
Yeah, you copy from and all the things you actually need to run instead of what you need to develop.
Mm-hmm. How we get a lot of customers to work around that issue is that we normally have a dev tag. So as part of the pipeline process, it will build a dev image and then a production image, so that they have all their tools like curl and wget and all those cool
Yeah,
crap.
the
in
things they
there.
rely on.
Yeah, but it has the exact same code. So if they want to swap it out in production, they simply just update the deployment and they can swap the image around.
Yeah.
So did we ever look at the bash code that did this?
Sure. I can pop down, and it's a POSIX shell, not bash. People will get angry at you for that.
You're right. I should say born shell code, but
yeah, the OG. Yeah, so I was a little more complex than it needed to be. I have a whole usage function here, along with it will handle whether or not you pass it only 1 number or 2 numbers, and what to do if the first number is larger than the second number, or if you give it a negative range.
in this case, the numbers being 3 and 5, or what do you mean the number?
The range of numbers to print. So from 0 to 100.
Okay.
Actually,
You kick up the font size a little bit on that? It's a little hard to read.
sure.
Thank you.
How about that?
That's a little nicer.
Yeah, so
I guess it's born shell does the C syntax $:. That's in C, and that's about in what, Perl maybe?
oh, the
So in Ruby,
yeah, I forget what it means, but yeah,
it's the trinary operator. It just
That's
is
the word.
basically an inline if statement, an inline if else statement inside a single expression. So for example, if the thing before the question mark is true, then the thing after the question mark is returned. If the thing before the question mark is false, then the thing after the colon is returned. So it's like an easy way to put an if else inside of a single expression.
Mhm.
So if you do this in C, it's one line.
Well, it's one line in most other places, but usually the line feeds
Mhm.
are white space and they could be ignored.
It's a little harder because if they're divisible by 15, then you need to print fizz buzz. So it can't just be the ternary integer
No, it's
operator.
two ternaries together. If it's divisible by 3, print fizz. If it's divisible by 5, print buzz. If it's divisible by 3, if it's divisible by both of those, it prints fizz buzz.
No, you have to do the 15 first. That's the secret to the fizz buzz challenge. You have to determine to always check for 15 first.
No, I'm telling you, you don't. You just concatenate the two together.
Well,
take-
yeah, if you do one of the tricks where you concatenate them, yes.
Yeah.
that'll work.
So yeah, the way I completed it, I assigned the string to be empty. For each number, first I check to see if it was equal to 3. If it is, out gets fizz. If then it's also divisible by 5, then out gets out followed by buzz. And then as long as out is something, you print that. Otherwise, you print the number.
Yeah, that's probably where my logic falls down, is being able to print the number. The concatenation. You're either going to get blank, or you're going to get fizz, or you're going to get buzz, or you're going to get fizz buzz. And so then you need.
Yeah, a lot of the programs like that will allow you to test for an empty string. And then, so you have yet another test in there. Is the string empty? If the string is empty, you print the number and not the thing. I couldn't figure out a way of combining that in the same if logic for the fizz and the buzz part.
Well, let's try it. See if it will work. We're all
The C shell, which has a lot of C syntax, does not support the question colon, does it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, does anybody even have C shell loaded anymore? Does awk support the question colon? But Perl does, right, Ed?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Perl does. Ruby does, probably because Perl does. Ruby got a lot of it.
I know it. It just when you're dealing with Perl instead of C, you don't have to run it through the compiler to test it.
I think it's in Rust too, but I could be wrong on that fact. No, I don't think it's in Rust because they use a question mark for something else.
But why yet another notation? I mean, the equal sign, greater than sign was the traditional if then. Why?
Say that again, Gary.
Yeah, you lost
Greater
me
than,
too.
equal, or equal than.
Sorry, I'm having button problems here. Yeah, the traditional from Fortran, the if then was an equal sign, greater than sign. And so why do we need yet another different notation?
Well, in a lot of languages, the equal greater than, you mean with no spaces between them or something between them?
No, nothing between them.
Yeah, that's those usually are referred to as like, for example, if you have a key value store in a hash table, for example, right? If you're doing a literal explicit copy of a hash table, the key is before that equal greater than, and the value is after it. That's just one way of doing it.
Here, let
So
me
a
help
lot
the
of
guy
times
who's typing.
yeah, a lot of times the operators are they're kind of language dependent, and that's where languages start to diverge a lot of
Yeah.
times. But C is kind of set the standard for most of the modern day stuff. So you'll see the ternary operator, you'll see the ampersand used for references and stuff like that.
You don't need to equal 0. You just need to say I%3, and you don't even need to say out. You just need to say if I%3 is either quote quote or fizz or buzz or whichever direction you're going. If I is divisible by 3, then return. You don't even say equals. You just say return. Just put the quote quote. Just say fizz. Question mark fizz colon double quote.
So like this.
Yep. Now that you assign that to out if you want, but no, double quote fizz. I mean, it's fizz or quote. If it's 3, it's fizz or blank, and if it's 15, and then you just concatenate it with if it's equal to take the word buzz out.
Oh, okay.
And then concatenate that string. It's quote quote.
Empty. Okay.
Yeah, and then concatenated with however you want to do concatenated in
so water doesn't leak down in here. But it's
the thing is
based
you're
on the-
doing
and it has these little sunshades right here.
you really just want a printf statement,
Yeah. Just need a
right?
printf. Don't even need all
Printf
this
statement with
stuff.
2% s's next to each other, and you print this into the left. I can't do the numbers. I can't have it populate the numbers for you. I actually you can, right? You can print a third one.
Hey, Stan,
3% s's next to each other.
do you want to
and-
share your screen and do this? It sounds like you have more C under your belt.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how to share my screen, but I don't have a C compiler handy, but I can at least type. It's gonna look like well, where's share screen? I saw my own reflection. Am I sharing or not?
You are not.
I'm not. What happened? It said leave meeting, cancel. What happened to
Oh.
share? Cancel. Somehow I clicked leave meeting. Share. Desktop share. Let's try that again. All right.
Here we go.
The syntax is something like printf, quote, %s, %s. And the first one is, I%3 colon fizz.
We're not seeing your entire screen, Stanford.
Yeah, I know. I'd wait till I get it done.
Can you clear the screen?
And no, I'm typing on the bottom line, which is the problem.
Well, if you clear the screen, it'll move everything up.
But then
Yeah,
I'll lose what I'm typing.
Just highlight it with the mouse and then clear it and paste.
I guess you're right. So it looks like that, except that we need the third argument here. In other words, if it's divisible by 3, it's going to print fizz. If it's divisible by 5, it's going to print buzz in the second % one. And if it's not divisible by either, it's going to print. And so what does that third expression look like? It looks like some kind of not I %3 and not I %5 question mark. We've got all my home keys off.
Then it prints out the I. Yeah.
Colon. What?
I think you need an or in there.
S print or
Yeah, he needs another ternary operator at the front.
something along those lines, you know, where you, when the third expression is true, it turns the number into, I guess it's, maybe it's a percent, it turns the number into a percent D, you know, so that it's, you can't print a, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. You have three variables and you choose what to assign it, and it's either going to be nothing, at which point the next
Right, and-
variable will be printed at the same place.
Right, and with a little bit of testing, you prove that none of the three variables are all going to be true at the same time and collide with each other. I mean, the fizz and the buzz are allowed to collide, but they're not allowed to collide with the number.
Yeah, this is code golf, I think is what they call it.
Did any of you guys see my table lookup version?
I don't think I did.
I thought that was really nice because it was one line of code. It did an infinite range of numbers from 1 to infinity, and it made that into a lazy enumerator, which it then mapped over a function that did a table lookup. And the table was a two-dimensional table, rows and columns, right? So in the table in position 0, 0 was the word FizzBuzz. And then across the top row in 0, X or X, 0, I guess you could say, it was all fizzes. And then all the first elements of all the rows were all buzzes. And then the remaining values in there was the number. So then you just did a table lookup, row and column. Row was just the number percent 3, in other words, modulo 3, and then the other one was the number modulo 5, right? So it always just returned the value in the row and the column, and it basically took advantage of the fact that percent 3, if it's divisible by 3, will be 0. Otherwise, it'll be 1 or 2. And if it's divisible by 5, it'll be 0. Otherwise, it'll be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right. So you had a 3 by 5 table, right? And every other value that was not a 0 or a 0 in the row or in the column would be just the actual number itself. So there was no if statements, there's no ternary operators. Everything was just a straight table lookup. If you want, I can show it to you.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see
Go
it.
ahead.
Here I am talking and I don't on mute. Did you hard code the table or did you build it with a for loop during execution?
No, this was the interesting part, right? Because it was Ruby, right? I was passing, it's a functional program, right? So it's using map. Does everybody understand what map does? It's like map and reduce. So given a collection of numbers, right? A list, if you map something, you're mapping a function over the entire list, right? What it does is map will apply that function to every element of that list. The result of that function will then replace whatever the original number was. So it's like a single number goes into the function, some other value or number comes out. Okay. So did I build it beforehand? No, I built it on every single map, which is rather inefficient if you think about it. But the way that it did it is it just had an explicit table there with the explicit values, buzz, fizz, and then buzz, and then D, D was the input number, right? So D, and then buzz, D, buzz, D, buzz, D, buzz, D, right? And then so basically it was just a two-dimensional table that was constructed on every call to the function. And it just meant that the D got placed in the times when the modulo was not equal to 0. So if it was equal to 1, then there'd be a D there, right? If modulo was equal to, you were checking it for 5, and it was equal to 2 or 3 or 4, right? It would just be replaced by a D. So in the end, you've got this table, and then there's just a lookup. And the table is because it just took advantage of the fact that the modulo will return 0, 1, or 2, or it will return 0, 1, 2, or 3. Excuse me, 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 for 5, right? And so those values are just indexes into this two-dimensional table. Did I explain it good enough, or was that? Would you like to see the code?
Sure.
Okay.
Please.
Give me a few seconds and I'll go find it. It's over on my other computer. Hold on.
Da 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 da. Welcome, Jonathan. Welcome, Norm.
I can't place my hands on it right now. It was in the discuss list. It was printed out in the email message. But I'm trying to find the exact file name because I copied everybody's BizBuzz challenge to the same directory. So I'm trying to find the exact one.
I suggest we move along.
Yeah, go ahead. You can move along.
Crickets, crickets, crickets.
Okay, I found it.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Okay, so I want to share the screen, right? Hold on. Am I sharing the screen?
Not yet. Stan, are you sharing your video?
Trying not to.
Yeah, my Zoom is in a weird state where the participants says that you and Steve
Oh,
are
it says
sharing
that
video.
I have to go into my Macintosh settings to allow permission to share the screen. So let's just forget it. But if you want to look it up, it's in the email thread. So
Depending upon how much, we're not going to do this, but depending upon how much code it is, you could post it in the chat.
yeah, I could post it in chat. It's a really long line, but it might wrap around. Will that matter?
I don't think, as long as yeah, I think wrapping works fine in chat.
Okay, let me see if I can get it in a line. Okay, hold on.
That would be really cool if we crashed Zoom, wouldn't it? Little Johnny drop tables.
Boom! Crash.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Did that come across in the chat?
I think it stopped after the after one of the function things.
Oh,
Nope.
crap.
Oh,
So there's like
yeah.
a line length limit on the chat?
I guess probably it gets to the point where it says open bracket,
Vertical line,
vertical line D, another
vertical
vertical
line,
line. Yeah,
and then nothing after that?
nothing after that.
Oh, crap. Oh, well, sorry about that, guys.
I was hoping we'd crash Zoom.
Well,
Yeah.
if you want to look it up, go to the FizzBuzz challenge, not the leaderboard, but the actual original FizzBuzz challenge in the discuss list, and it'll be way at the bottom of it, but not quite the bottom, like maybe the one right before the bottom.
At this
It's
point,
the one
Andrew
using
St.
a lookup table.
At this point, Andrew St. Clair is sharing his screen.
I went ahead and copied and pasted it out of the email into a text document.
Ah,
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate
Sure.
the help.
I don't know if you'll be able to
that's
see what there.
that looks different to me.
I think this is it. This is a Ruby FizzBuzz.
Yeah, there were two of them
Functional
though.
approach.
There was one that used the lookup table, and another was called the functional approach. If that's the last one was the functional approach.
Count on me to get the wrong one.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, it says functional approach.
I found somebody talking about doing it in JavaScript, and they did some weird JavaScript trick, and there was only 6 characters, not in the entire challenge, but there was only 6 characters / operators in the entire FizzBuzz code. So I was curious to know how they did that, but I haven't been able to locate it yet. So in other words, they didn't use like functions or for loops or any of that kind of stuff. They just used, they did some kind of mapping of functions to characters or something, and they did something like that. I think they were trying to beat the APL one. The APL one was like 7 or 8 total characters for the entire program. Hey, James. Hello.
Yeah, Ed, what's going on?
Oh, now I was going to ask, is it possible for the Go program to be a server that would answer TCP packet questions inside that Docker container? In other words, could you run it as like a service inside the Docker container?
That
Like think
Go
of a web
code-
server, but not a
yeah.
web server.
I don't think that Go code could, but you could definitely import like the net library and have it be a daemon and stuff.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Just because a cool way to do it would be to say, okay, instead of a normal echo server, right? If we send 3 to it, it comes back with fizz and buzz otherwise, or whatever we send to is just echoed back. You know, just kind of like server, but instead of it echoing the thing that you sent it, it would replace anything divisible by 3 with fizz and or fizz or buzz or fizz buzz. Like a fizz buzz server.
Well, Slug, do we think we can make it? Who wants to take point?
I mean, if it's HTTP, that'd be super easy. But I think with TCP, I mean, you're just gonna have to do like the byte decoding.
This is Stan. Before we go any further, Ed, I need to tell you that I asked the people at IT Pro TV about their website. They said it was blind friendly, but if you had any issues with it, you could contact them by email at support@itpro.tv. So that's for this upcoming weekend, where they got the free security videos coming up.
Oh, I thought that was last weekend.
No. It's this coming weekend, 23rd and 24th.
Okay, is it only certain classes or?
They got the four different ones that they're offering, and apparently they must be in different locations, because one of them is they're broadcasting the certified ethical hacker videos, and that's a total of 42 hours just by itself. So I imagine that's kind of on a separate channel. Another one is 28 hours, I think, and there's another one that's 23 or something like that. So
I don't see how you can manage to span that over a single weekend.
How much coffee do we have?
yeah, 42 hours, that'll fit into 2 days, right?
It'll
He
fit in
started-
48 hours, but it's like, you know,
Hmm.
you're not going to sleep at all at some point.
Well, you know, you learn when they by osmosis, you know, just
Yeah.
sleep by the computer.
No, you play them at double speed. That way it's only one day, so you can take some time off.
Oh, they're not offering it to allow you to download this stuff. They're just going to play it, I think.
Although
Uh,
they're just
although-
streaming it straight through is all they're doing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
What's
But
the
you know,
DRM they have on it?
yeah, but I mean, you know, a simple screen recorder on Linux, I imagine would fill the bill.
Oh, YouTube downloader grabs videos from all sorts of places, not just YouTube.
Really,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
But did I ask you about the accessibility on there? I don't remember if I did or not.
We had talked before, and you had mentioned that you weren't able to get in the last, you know, a couple of months ago. They had a free weekend kind of deal, and you said you couldn't get in.
No, the problem wasn't the accessibility. I just could not find the, well, this was ahead of the meeting, right? So I was trying
Yeah.
to find the point that said, hey, we have a free meeting coming up, right? Click.
Oh, they didn't put that up on the web page. It was in their email that came out. So and that was only for subscribers. Or they did mention it in one of their
They mentioned it on Twit, right?
Yeah, yeah, they mentioned it on Twit and they mentioned it someplace else. And I've been complaining to them that they don't advertise this the free weekends as like they should. You know, they should have something up on their home page, and their marketing sucks a little bit.
Yeah, okay, that was my problem because I couldn't find the link. That was the only issue. But I didn't go on the day of the I was planning on going on the day of the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. The Jonathan Drews, I think, has a question. He has a question about compiling C code with Clang, C-L-A-N-G. And I'm not sure that Jonathan has a good microphone, but he did post some code in the chat channel to everyone. And but he gets errors. Frequently, Jonathan has trouble with his microphone.
I haven't muted Stan.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to interrupt anybody or have any background noise interfere. So
Oh,
I haven't compiled C in about 12 to 14 years. And I'm using Clang, which is the main C compiler of FreeBSD and OpenBSD. And so my code has, these include libraries, and then it says define, and I get the error, use of undeclared identifier pi02, which is supposed to be pi over 2 here. And it just won't recognize that. Has that been changed in the C language in 14 years? Do you know?
I haven't done C in about 30 years, so I wouldn't know.
Only thing I can suggest is that the pound includes are working, but the pound defines may just be comments in C lang rather than defines.
Yeah,
I don't think
comments in
so.
C are
Pound
slashes.
defines are actually either defining a
preprocessor.
constant or a function. So.
Can I share my screen real quick, Ed?
Sure, I won't be
ahead.
able to see it, but others could.
Or maybe James, who seems to be a pretty accomplished programmer. Tell me what.
I try. At least I'm good at acting like one.
Why use
All right,
C
James,
lang
hold on
instead
here.
of why use C lang instead of
Let me
CC?
see if I'm going to. Do you mind if I do this real quick, guys?
Go right ahead.
Go ahead. Now, everyone should remember that the man with one eye is king in the land of the blind.
That's what it looks like. Can you see that screen?
Yep, use of undeclared identifier PI02.
And that comes from this.
Yeah, you're also getting an undeclared NMAX. I don't think your defines are working. Why are you using CLang instead of CC?
Sometimes you just need less.
That's the default. That is an excellent question. I forgot your name.
You took down the code. I wasn't.
His
finished
name is
looking at it.
Stanford.
Yeah.
Stanford, yes, Stanford. The reason for doing that is to refresh myself. I bought a book by a guy named Robert Secord called, what is this thing? It's a book by Robert Secord, who was a big buckety muck on the C language. And evidently he's involved with this Clang business.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, right now I'm sharing you the C book, not his book. But anyway, to make a long story short, this code used to work under a Borland compiler. And I think it also worked under GCC many years ago. And according to the book, define should be good. If not, I'll just declare it as a float.
Well, I mean, I just doubt. I mean, it looks to me like the pound signs are not being taken, and you're not even getting to the point.
Hey,
of
you
the
dropped off.
You're not even getting to the includes because nothing you've done depends upon the standard
no.
library, the math library, or the NR.8.
Okay.
Now when we need you, they're debating the CLang compiler or the Clang compiler versus the CC compiler.
So here's how I compiled it. Those are my instructions to the compile.
Yeah.
So, oh, I see what's going on here. I shouldn't have put a gap between there. That's a lot better. Okay. You see that gap I put in between the bin math?
Yeah, you're a little bit better. You're a little less noisy now, but you still got the same problems.
Yeah. What do you think I ought to do, Stanford? Just declare them as floats?
I mean, one thing I'd like to see you do is just use the C compiler to say, yeah, that works. There's something wrong with the CLang compiler.
Actually, the GCC won't run on here. FreeBSD and OpenBSD have switched to Clang.
How about just CC?
That's likely linked
That
to
is a
Clang.
great idea, but if I
Or is
do
that the
that,
GCC?
Yeah, CC is probably something else.
Nope.
You
There it is.
think
You
CC
can
might
see
be
it.
a different compiler than Clang on BSD?
Maybe.
It
Yeah.
says, it says it's the Clang compiler, but let's just try it.
Okay.
Change Clang to CC. Wow, same errors. Okay.
Yeah, I just did a real simple one, defined the same pre-macro and printed out pi02 with printf, and it compiled with Clang, printed just fine. So it might be
what's he
something
done
else
wrong?
in the code.
Have you got, I don't know, have you got some special characters in your source code that are interfering with the pound define?
That is an excellent question.
No, I see what it is. The pound defines are in a comment. Your first comment is not terminated. Driver.
That would do it.
That's why they're in red. There you go.
Hey, that's better.
Okay, let's go back over here. And it worked.
Yeah, usually when I get strange errors, I look before the code for something that I, should have been correct. that I typed incorrectly, but obviously I typoed it or fat fingered it.
Yeah, look at the first error message to see where you forgot the semicolon.
Right.
Well, Ed, I have taken Ed's advice to heart. I mean, it's not like I don't listen to you guys. So Ed, I ordered a book called Ruby by Example. But
Okay.
if I show you this, the reason for the persistence with this C business is because I'm gonna minimize this. I'm gonna show you this real quick, okay? Those are all my numerical recipes programs. It took years to write those. And that's why I'm going to continue to use C. I tried to do it in corn shell, and it proved to be too difficult.
Yeah, I think he is really good for numerical stuff. In addition, I would not use Ruby for numerical stuff. The best alternative to C, I think, is Python with a specific library called NumPy. And there's another one called SciPy, which is SCI Pi. But NumPy has a lot of built-in numerical functions, and they're very easy to get at from the Python code. So
here's a numerical integration in corn shell, and it runs pretty fast. Okay, Ed? And the idea was to bypass all that include and header stuff, you know?
So in that corn shell, are sine and cosine primitives, or are they functions that you call from someplace else?
The corn shell 93 will call C functions.
Ah.
Which is one hell of a trick here. I'll show you this right now. So this is what drove me crazy. It's syntax like this. Did you see this where this guy has put this for IT, comma, J?
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of for loops really are very ugly and hard for me to understand.
Well, that's basically C for loops. You've got your three statements. The first one's just declaring two variables equal to 1. Second one's checking to see if J is less than the third argument minus 1. The last one is incrementing J. And you will.
And that's legitimate, James?
That's legitimate. Yeah, you will.
Yeah,
see
it's normal C code.
Yeah.
It's legitimate code, but I'm a little spooked by it. It's like whatever. Okay, IT equals 1. Okay, why do you have to put that? All right.
There.
Yep, Stanford. I think what these guys did is they originally wrote this numerical recipes in Fortran, and then they used some kind of computer software
just a
to
bulk
translate
converter.
Fortran into C, and they never bothered to fix it up.
Yeah, well, I'd be angry. Why are all these variables just one letter? Yeah, we got or 2.
Yeah,
oh, perish the thought of typing twice as much.
Well, that's the way they did it. I mean, I'm stuck with it.
Yeah, I mean, apparently once upon a day, you'd have memory constraints with your programs, so you'd have to have smaller variable names, but come on, people.
Well,
But,
you never need more
actually-
than 640K, right?
James,
I
Stanford.
started doing Fortran back in the 60s, and there never was a requirement for 2 character variable names. Okay, that comes from BASIC. That was the language that had 2 character variable names. So you had all kinds of programs with A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10.
Now I know why
A0.
Dykstra hated it.
Well, actually, you could give the variables more than 2 characters, but it just truncated the damn things.
I stopped sharing. Can you guys see
That's
this?
Fortran.
Now?
Yes, thank you for letting us know you stopped sharing.
So a little bit of history. When I originally ran these ran on a 386 SX computer using DOS 3.3. That's how I ran them.
Yeah, in what? In Fortran?
No, and in C, it uses a Borland C compiler.
Okay, Borland C. Okay.
I mean, you guys are the biggest part of making.
I'm going to tell you, if you got code that works, stick with it. Because if you try and translate it, you're going to introduce bugs.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do, Stanford. That's why I got this book, Effective C, which is let me see if I can find this link. This guy is a big muckety muck in the C community. It's by No Storage Press. I want you to come,
Yeah.
you guys.
It is a little dry, is my statement on it. I've gotten through maybe the first third of that book. The original KNR, well, second edition KNR, the C programming language is surprisingly readable. That is my recommendation for everyone trying to.
I have
learn
both
C.
those books, James. I have this one. I'm going to post it in chat. I bought it because No Storage Press seems to be a pretty good outfit.
Yeah, they've got lots of stuff.
Yeah, you want to look for their humble bundles. A lot of humble bundles with No Storage Press, and you get like 18 books for $12 or something.
So I posted it in the chat, and then I have the other book by Kernigan and Ritchie.
That's the good one.
Wait, is it the first one or the second edition? Before
I
they
think-
standardized it.
Hold on, James. I'm going to.
Yeah, no, it's probably the second edition if it's got the red ANSI on it.
It's got the red ANSI. It's the second edition.
Yeah. I think Robert Secord, he might be involved with like the C Standards Committee because it reads like almost like a definition, almost like the standards.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
everybody was talking about the fact that Steve Jobs died 10 years ago, but nobody mentioned the fact that Dennis Ritchie died 10 years ago. And in my personal opinion, Ritchie has had a much, orders of magnitude more impact on our community than Jobs ever did.
Yeah, but he wasn't flashy.
Right, that's the point, right? Quiet but powerful.
Ed, I'm a fan of Ritchie, but Jobs invented the iPhone. I mean, that just impacted the whole world. Sing me the praise of Ritchie.
Every single thing the iPhone does is because of Dennis Ritchie.
Yeah, Unix.
Damn thing doesn't
guys,
do it because of Dennis Ritchie.
I have a quick question, not to interrupt. Now that most of my object files compile, how do I create the A dot out from the object files? What's the command
at this
for
point, you want to start investigating using make, right? To both link all your .o files together to a executable. You can do it by hand using the ln command, but most people just use make. I'm sorry, take that back. LD, link is the, LN is the
symbolic link.
Yeah, symbolic link. But LD, the best way to do it is using a make file because there's built-in rules in make, right? Where you can say, hey, I want this executable and it depends on these .o files. And hey, gee whiz, guess what? Make knows how to compile them all together and link them all into a single executable.
Well, I don't know how to write make files, Ed.
Yeah, no.
Well, you should have attended my my session on how to use make at the STLLUG meeting back when was it, November of last year? When was that I gave that?
We may have recorded it.
It's probably recorded and you probably go watch it.
I agree with Ed. You need to learn to use make, but right now today, just say CC. You don't even use LD. You use CC again. You say -O, A.out, and you say star.o.
Yeah, that'll work for the files in that directory.
Yeah, like both GCC and Clang. Do
What
the
is
whole
that?
two chain.
-O?
Yeah, -O, you're naming the out file with that flag.
Okay.
The
zero.
-O tells you what you want to name your output file.
Yeah.
I'll go into to the masterhead.
Do I have to use LM?
No, CC will call LN.
I'm still
Oh,
getting an error.
LD,
LD
thank you, Ed.
is what it calls.
All right, shared screen. Let's take a look.
Errors I'm getting. Guys, just let me do this real quick, okay?
Go ahead and share.
I
your
promise I
screen.
won't.
Share your screen.
Yeah, we've got nothing better to do.
So that's the error I get. So in other words, let me clear this off.
CC. Undefined
that's
symbol
the command I
power.
use.
So you need to link the math library. It might just be -LM on there.
Huh.
Woo! And if you look at like man 3 math, it'll have the instructions for
It
linking
worked. There's only one iteration.
Hey,
let
it's
me-
a
let me
start.
Hold on, guys. I'm going to change this real quick. Oh, gosh. This is the.
Hey, Steve, we got another Emacs convert.
It's GNU
Well, I
Emacs
use
too.
VI too. I use VI and VIM. So now I do that. What did I do wrong here?
Link, remove LM from CC. Looks like you're just creating the object files. You're not linking them with this command.
And now I'm going to link them. Boy, that was fast. So you see this is the true result. That's the correct result. And so it came very close. Right? If I let it run a little bit longer. Okay, so it's working. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. And there should be a way to compile and link all in one command. I don't know it off the top of my head with Clang, but it's possible.
James, that is an excellent idea. The problem is I want to do each C file individually so that I can track down errors and typos.
All right. At which point you really need the make files.
What's a good book on make then?
Probably Scott
Probably the
Branneman's
best book
book.
on make is the one by O'Reilly. I don't know if I think you get it in an ebook format, but you might have to pay for it.
Ed, isn't he going to give a presentation tonight?
Or read my presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed's talk on make files was November of last year, and it is recorded. You can pick it up off the STLLUG webpage.
Ed, you're doing a mighty work.
I can't believe my memory was right on the date. That was pretty strange. Never that good.
But Gary, isn't Scott Branneman supposed to give a presentation tonight?
You missed the announcement. That was our original thought, but there was a miscommunication. It's probably my fault. And so he's actually busily grading this evening. And we had a miscommunication on the date. So there is the San Francisco celebration on the Internet Archive. That's going on, probably just started out in San Francisco, but it is online. So you can go to it online.
Okay, Gary. Well, you guys have been a big help with this C compiler. It's not enough to drive people crazy with this C language.
Yeah, just wait until you run into the seg faults.
As far as an online resource for Make or for especially GNU Make, you want to go to the Free Software Foundation and the GNU project, and they have a whole bunch of hyperlinked pages on using GNU Make. I used that site to build up my presentation back in November. So
Yeah, that's also available in info
dry
pages.
and very extensive, and you don't really need all that much to learn Make, but for what you're going to do, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, more than enough. Half of that info page is like GNU extensions with, hey, you like Lisp? You want to put some Lisp in with your shellcode and a Make file?
Yes, exactly. It's like how to add external functions to your Make file.
Also at my day job, my team lead really hates all the GNU extensions. It's just why? It's too much.
Ed, have you ever used CMake?
No, I have heard a lot about it, but when I started looking into it back in November of last year, I was like, this is way too much. I mean, I didn't quite get what they were trying to do, but it's some kind of declarative syntax, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when I download a bundle and it says, you know, run CMake and then run Make, and it's like, okay, I'll just do what you said. I don't quite understand what I'm doing. But yeah, there's another one, QMake, maybe it's QMake also, that tries to make your Make file for you.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing that the GNU project has. They have these like AutoConf and AutoMake, right? And basically AutoConf is supposed to generate your configure file, you know, so when people do configure and then make and make install, right? AutoConf starts with like a template file, and you put features in there, and then it generates a configure file, and then AutoMake generates the make file from all these other inputs, one of which is there's a makefile.in and a config.in or configure.in, and
Oh yeah.
you want to like spin your mind out of control. They make a simple hello world program, you know, printf hello world \n, that program there, but of course it has like all the options, right, that GNU programs have, and you know, the long options and the short options and all that stuff. Anyway, that whole project teaches you how to use AutoConf and AutoMake, and it's just a crazy bunch of stuff. I never do any of that anymore. Just use regular Make.
Something
I
too
even
many
used,
platforms.
back in the days of network information systems, formerly known as Yellow Pages. I forget, I had a Make file that did not use C or Bourne shell or whatever. I mean, it strictly existed for dependencies, and it said, yeah, when all of these different I was editing a bunch of maps, right? And it's like, well, when this map changes or this map changes, then you run the map joiner routine to join all these maps together into one huge map. I mean, yeah, you can there are some built-in rules for Make for doing compiles, but its genius is just file dependencies. When you touch this file, remake all these other ones.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I used Make to create the Make presentation, which was all just a bunch of markdown files that were linked together. So there was no GCC or anything in there.
Wait, you mean Make files don't have to be 2,000 line monstrosities?
No, what's weird is that you can split them into separate little smaller make files. And especially with directories and stuff like that, you can say, hey, include everything in this directory, and it'll grab all the make rules in that directory. And so you can have like an outer make file with a bunch of inner make files inside there.
Yeah,
I
you can
usually use the .mk extension for that.
Yeah, you can also have like submakes that first pop into a different directory and then run make targets in there.
Correct, right. Yeah, there's actually sort of two approaches, right?
Yeah.
And if you really want to twist your mind, you can use the C preprocessor with any language you want.
Oh no.
I mean, you can write your bash program with C preprocessing directives, or your HTML with C preprocessing directives, and just call, I forget what the argument is that says call the C compiler, but just do the C preprocessor step.
You want to put some C macros in your Lisps? I'm sure that would give some people conniptions.
I mean, I mostly used it for include statements and conditional compilation. You know, if you're on Windows, include this set of logic. If you're on Unix, include this set of logic.
Yeah, I think Calendar, it's a really old utility, uses the C preprocessor to fill out interesting events that happen today and tomorrow and print that.
James,
Really? I
haven't
didn't know
used
that.
thing.
Yeah, and I don't think the C preprocessor is its own primitive. I don't think it's not CPP. That does not stand for C preprocessor. That stands for C++. So it's just CC dash something to only invoke the preprocessor.
Yeah, I think
Stan?
it way back in the day, on old Unix system, CPP was the C preprocessor, but they hadn't even invented C++ yet when I was doing it.
Oh, I was wrong. Man CPP. It's the C preprocessor.
Yeah,
Stanford and James, just let me blurt this out. I still use that thing, Calendar.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
It works great, man, because you can edit it with VI or Emacs. You don't have to go through all those ooey gooey changes.
Yeah. Oh, where'd they put the save button this time? Yeah, I haven't figured out how to do it for anything serious, but it'll just pop up like, oh, today was Thomas Jefferson's birthday or something.
You want to see? I'll copy. I'll post my calendar in chat, and you guys can. There's nothing what should I say, offensive about it. It's just your typical.
Oh yeah.
How did it know that it's Thomas Jefferson's birthday? Is there some text file that it has?
Yes, it does have a text file. So for instance, today, October 21st, we have a SLUG meeting. October 21st was also Alfred Nobel was born in Stockholm, 1833.
Yeah.
And then apparently he thinks we have a SLUG meeting tomorrow, but I must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing you want to do is mix the C preprocessor with the diff command. You can have diff spit out diff2 files and spit out the differences not as less than greater thans, but as C preprocessor macros.
Oh no.
So that's an option that you could use.
Yeah, you can do EdScript. I'm not seeing the C processor one.
I forget what the argument is to diff, but then it says pound define character string, pound not define character string, and shows the pluses and minuses of the diff. And then you just call the C preprocessor with -D that character string to turn on either the true or the false values of the diff output.
So
I think it's diff minus capital D, but I'll be double check.
Output, yeah, capital D output merge files with ifdef name diffs.
James?
Yeah, and then you do
So-
CPP with the same dash capital D, and it'll either return the old version or the new version.
So I posted the beginning of the year for my calendar file.
Mhm.
And those are all my appointments. And what that thing does is when Chrome runs, it emails you. So the next morning when you get up to check your email, it tells you your appointments.
Yeah, that is neat. And like you said, it's just a text file, a fairly simple format. And you can even define like, oh, this is a floating holiday that sometimes changes from year to year.
Hey guys, my internet connection is starting to get crappy, so I'm gonna head off.
Thanks for stopping by, Ed.
Yeah, Ed, thanks a lot.
Take care, Ed.
Matt Maddox posted a question. What is that tool called?
It is calendar. I found it because I'm on Arch, but it even pulled in like the BSD general commands manual for it. So you might have less luck finding it on Ubuntu.
The truth be told, guys, is that things like Thunderbird and Simian Evolution have kind of supplanted that old calendar system. I use it because it's text. You can just edit it with VI.
I used to use, this is Stan, I used to use it quite a bit. And there are a couple of websites up there that have a whole collection of historical events, reminders, that kind of stuff, and who did what to invent what chemical and et cetera, et cetera. I haven't used it myself in quite a while, but I still have remnants of it hanging around in my archives.
So what's going on, Stan, is I'm participating in this meeting with FreeBSD. FreeBSD doesn't load the standard calendar headers, which is what we were originally talking about, the C preprocessor directives.
Right.
And this calendar system would use those C preprocessor directives. But to do that, you have to load a special package in FreeBSD for it to work. And I just won't do it. I don't need to know when Betsy Ross sewed the American flag and all that, you know. I mean,
That
it's
is
nice
important
to,
information. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, it is historical context, but it gets, you see how this, I have my work schedule in here now. This was from June up to June, but in the latter half of the year, I had my work schedule in there for the store I work at. And so it just gets in the way.
I think you can just specify a calendar file to only print from. But yeah, you've got your use case. I use it just to have something greet me in my terminal when I start it up.
Or you can do here's calendar from hold on, James. Oh, I don't have them up here. They're on OpenBSD. Okay. The older calendars had the include files, right? It would say include US holidays, include Christian celebrations or whatever. It had a whole list of them, right?
Yeah, and I've got
And you
that
could-
I can choose from.
But on FreeBSD, you have, that's a separate package.
Oh no.
Well, everybody uses modern desktops like Mate or GNOME or KDE or you name it. Nope.
And it is a fairly what do we say, finished product. There's not a whole lot of features that it really needs or wants.
Right. So I'll post this in chat. To look ahead, you issue the command calendar -A, say you want to look ahead 7 days. And that'll give you all your appointments 7 days out. And if you say, well, when was my payment due for my car? And then, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just going to share.
A day, yeah. And now if you do B, it'll do backwards.
7 days. Yeah.
But that's a really handy thing because if, let's say there's a meeting over on Semibug and I want to write to, I want to go ahead and write to a steering committee and say, hey, there's this nice meeting. I could just cat that, do that calendar thing and pipe it into my letter and then paste it,
Yeah,
You know what
or
I'm saying?
I want to just grep for all the birthdays from my family this year and have
Yeah.
a reminder for that or something. You don't have to
It's a nice
learn a new
little-
search tool. You don't have to scroll through your phone.
But that's maintained pretty much in OpenBSD because all the OpenBSD developers use window managers. They don't use a regular desktop.
Yeah. What is that? I have to move the window manually? Yeah.
A window manager is simply a colored screen with X terms.
Like, can be a little bit more than that. I'm running a window manager DWM, which is, hey, basically
Okay.
you want to open up a new window. Sure, we can do that, and we'll even manage where we place things in a stack system.
But yeah, those things are pretty bulletproof. And then I use a Python derived program for my file manager instead of Midnight Commander called Ranger, which works
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah. And it's lots of fun.
Well-
It's fairly low to the ground.
Is that what you got over there, James? Is Ranger?
It's similar to it. It's LF inspired by, but done up in Go instead of a Python.
LF? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, all the things work. I even got previews working, which is fun.
But you guys have been a big help. This C business was driving me crazy.
What's that called, James?
LF?
LF. Lima Foxtrot, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
And I prefer Ranger and LF to stuff like to most other terminal file managers because it has the 3 window pane instead of just the 2.
Crickets, crickets, crickets.
Someone else show off their desktop.
Say again.
Someone else show off their desktop. You sound like you have a lot of customization, Stan.
Oh, goodness. Oh, nothing I don't wind up showing it whenever I do a presentation. Good grief. Let's see here.
So let's see, you have 8 desktop or no, virtual desktops.
Show.
Rocking that classic Windows 95 title bar.
Yep, I love it. Well, you know, I promote the Linux Mate because there's so many of the older guys. They came from a Windows XP world, and it's, you know, it's all traditional and everything. And you know, brochures. I work on the brochures that we have on our website, and I'm way behind on that. And I got a little project hardware sheet I used to do. That's something an old project I want to revisit, but I always love showing these things. You know, boom, boom.
Please stand by.
Yeah, and often, you know, start out messages, meetings, and then of course Big Brother is watching.
Uh-oh.
And yeah. So you want something user friendly, right? You wish. Right in the middle. You know, Linux is stable, and well, you wish it was user friendly.
Some of them are stable.
Yeah, whatever. But a lot of these graphics can get a point across, especially when I talk to people that use Mac machines. You know, it's the updates is cool, more free stuff, and then Windows, not again. And then Mac, oh, it's only $99.
I think you need to add another 9 on the end of that one.
Yeah. But this is one of my favorites, and I kind of modified it a little bit. I put this describes the difference between the three major systems. You know, the Mac machines, you know, does tricks, you know, but whatever. You get to the end, the Linux stuff is outright dangerous. Yes, but it's it'll take care of you if you treat it well.
What were your 3 overlapping circles, Stan?
The Venn diagram.
Venn diagram is user friendly.
Customizable. Mac, not customizable. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Windows, not stable. Linux, not user friendly. Which there are arguments all around.
Yeah.
And where's your test pattern? Put up the test pattern again.
Oh, I've got another test pattern I'm looking for. I've got it somewhere on my.
I don't remember if I told this joke before. You know, what's the final note in the Star Spangled Banner?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that too, quite well. Now this is an old one that kind of explains the economics. Of course, they finally got to the point where supposedly it's free. Well, you know, when people start saying it's free, they don't deny it. They just ignore it till the times it comes for you to be subscribed, and then they'll charge you. You know, whatever. But this is an oldie bit goodie. The hood welded shut. This one is for some of the newcomers that they don't know the difference between RAM and storage. You know, you ask them how big, you know, how much storage you got, and they'll say, you know, I got 380.
Gigabytes.
Yeah, whatever. And but this is my favorite. And this was an oldie put out by O'Reilly. And some of this stuff is, you just don't find it anymore. But then again, you know, for the Slack meeting, which is first Thursday of every month, that's our logo here. And IP Monkey is one to use. And I own a cat. Flat the rain.
You own the cat, or does the cat own you?
Well, this one I own because it no longer can own me.
Oh no.
You know, straw poll. I've done these occasionally. Good too. But then again, nobody noticed what I do until I don't do it.
And everything catches on fire.
Yes, yes, and maintain the web pages for our meetings, and that can be kind of, well, a lot to do. But then again, what could possibly go wrong?
That's a classic shot.
Yep. No,
I think that's the first time I ever saw the test pattern on a screen and it actually looked like a circle.
really.
Instead of an oval.
Well, you
Just
remember the old
curved.
analog TVs? You couldn't put a circle up there. It wasn't gonna, it might look like something, but it wasn't gonna look like a circle.
But that's just some of my favorite things. Oh, I don't want to go there. I don't have a lot on this laptop, okay? Yeah. And these are some of my recordings for the various meetings and so forth. And like I said, I don't have a lot on this laptop. However, hang on just a second here. Let me close this out. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, yeah. Here I can. I'm not sure if I've got this working or not. Bless you. Mute yourself, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was.
Okay. This is X to go, and I don't know if I may not have that running. Oh, that server's down, I think. Doggone it. Oh. Well. No. Here we go. Are you guys seeing this?
I see a black window.
Yeah. Well, I had to. It was the system was shut down. I had to start it up, so that's why it's a little bit slow here. But see the little spinning circle? It's starting to work. Yay!
Yeah.
I mean,
Are we going to use Gron?
No, this is the yeah. See it. Unfortunately, all this stuff was shut down, so it's slowly coming up. This is on an older machine I got. That's an old 486. I mean, it works fine if you leave it turned on. And this is Mars. It's okay.
The red planet.
The red planet, yes. And 1, 2, 3. I got to remember where I'm going here. And I want to do this one. I want to do. Oh, I forgot where I'm doing. I forgot. Shoot. 11-minute warning.
The librarians will come to kick us out.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. This, like I said, it's on a 486, and if I leave everything up and running, it snaps right into it, and X to go goes right to it, and that's not the one I wanted next. Yeah. Here we go. This is the database I use for the planning schedule.
And you do that on the remote computer?
Yeah. 10-minute warning. 10-minute warning. Yeah, I do it on a remote computer, and I've been trying to rewrite everything, and the current HQ database will not do multiple records or multiple users. So they're working on transferring everything to Firefox. Firebase is the database that they had been trying to set that up, but they at this point it's experimental. It was experimental, and they tried to turn it on, and they found too many bugs, so they turned it back off. And I think they broke a bunch of things. But this is now what I originally clicked on that icon would have gone almost immediately to this screen, but since the system was shut down, I'd had to start everything up, and so it's anyway. This is the database where I put things in, and I change stuff around and put in the categories and so forth, and once it's done, I close it out and generate a report. And use this, and it generates pretty quickly. I got 3 levels. Okay. So as of, this is the stuff that we did on the 13th, and it's done. And this was the stuff that was all available for this meeting. And I had not updated it because it didn't know till the last minute what we were supposed to be doing, but wound up we didn't do it anyway. So all this stuff is going to be moved till to next November. But the newcomer meeting, or the new Linux group, is next Tuesday, and it'll be online. And then we have a steering committee and a Slack meeting, et cetera, et cetera. And then Tyler Rudy is probably going to do sometime on his project converting old email to database stuff, maybe in November. So something we got to go back and check on, see if he's able to do that. And then I actually convert this thing to a PDF, and that quickly, once I do that, I can close this thing out. And then I close this thing out. And then I run, where did I put it? Oh, I don't have an icon for it on this screen. But if I run it from a terminal, and the other icon I had on my other machines runs this shell script, and it publishes the stuff and copies the stuff to like 3 or 4 different machines, and then that pretty much is how it's done. And then if I run this thing here on all the machines, and even up on the STLLUG web page, what was is now copied the latest version in 8:51, 9 minutes before closing time. Yay. So that's about, I'm going to stop sharing now. So enough of that. Did I put everybody to sleep?
Just maybe. It's getting close to my bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a lot more interesting stuff on the other machines, but this is the only one I got now that right now that I'm sharing across the Zoom session. So, okay. Crickets, crickets, crickets.
Last call. Do we feel like turning off the recording?
We could. Gary, wake up, Gary.
I don't see. Oh, he is muted.
Well, he is muted. That means he's.
Yeah, Gary's muted.
Yeah. Well,
He's still logged in.
Yeah. Well, that didn't mean anything. You know, sometimes he took a bathroom break or something.
He seems to do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I do too. Yeah. Well, okay. This has been the St. Louis Linux Users Group meeting for the 21st of October. We're going to go ahead and shut off the recording. And where's the button? Button.